When the Civil War ended, Southern states wasted no time in stripping newly freed people of their rights, and President Johnson seemed only to encourage it. But when radical Republicans in Congress took control of Reconstruction, they were determined to protect Black freedom and construct a whole new South. But just how successful were they in the end? Well, that's the treasure we're out to discover. I'm Dan Luer, and this is History for Humans. Before we get into the learning, I want to remind teachers and homeschool parents that I have lesson plans and activities that go with all my videos on my website, historyforhumans.com. Now, our exploration question for today's lesson is, how did Congressional Reconstruction attempt to secure Black freedom, and was it successful? So bathing suits on, y'all, let's dive into some history. From our last video, recall that Reconstruction was the effort to reunite the nation after the Civil War and rebuild the South now that slavery was abolished. We covered the first chapter of this effort, Presidential Reconstruction, led by President Andrew Johnson, whose hands-off approach allowed Southern states to rebuild nearly the same all-white governments that existed before the war, passing Black codes that stripped African Americans of nearly all their rights. And at first, moderate Republicans in Congress tried to work with President Johnson, but many soon lost confidence in him. Support grew for more radical Republicans, those who demanded to see real change in the South and real rights for African Americans. The radicals in the House of Representatives were led by Thaddeus Stevens, and in the Senate by Charles Sumner. Yes, that Sumner. Both men were deeply committed to racial equality and using the strong arm of federal power to secure it. Stevens warned, "The whole fabric of Southern society must be changed, and never can it be done if this moment is lost." President Johnson, though, stood stubbornly in their way and would do everything in his power to block their efforts. Reconstruction became a battle between Congress and the president. The first sweeping piece of legislation Congress passed was the Civil Rights Act of 1866 to protect basic rights for African Americans. When President Johnson vetoed it, trying to kill the bill, Congress overrode his veto, passing the bill with a 2/3 majority. And they must have enjoyed doing this because they did it 14 other times. If Reconstruction was a battle, Congress was on the offensive. The Civil Rights Act led to the 14th Amendment, which defined all persons born in the United States as citizens and forbade states from depriving any citizen, regardless of race, from the equal protections of the law. Over another veto, Congress renewed the Freedmen's Bureau to provide aid and support to freed people. And one of the greatest accomplishments of the Freedmen's Bureau was the opening of the first schools for African Americans in the South. You see, during slavery, literacy was a crime. And now as freed people, African Americans pursued education with passion, knowing it was the gateway to empowerment, independence, and for a deeply religious people, the key to reading the Bible for themselves. Churches and schoolhouses became central pillars of Black communities across the South. The emboldened Republican Congress then passed the Reconstruction Acts of 1867, dividing the South into 5 military districts under federal control. When Johnson tried to block their enforcement, Congress began looking for a knockout punch. In 1868, Congress did something it had never done before and impeached the president. Impeachment is the first step to remove a president from office. Johnson then had to face a trial in the Senate to determine his fate. After the heated 2-month-long trial, Johnson was acquitted and escaped being booted from the presidency by a single vote. However, it left him all but powerless until the 1868 election, when Republican Ulysses S. Grant, the hero of the U.S. Army, was elected president. And now, with an ally in the presidency, radical Reconstruction kicked into high gear. Under military occupation, Southern states had to write new constitutions, ratify the 14th Amendment, and grant black male suffrage, which is the right to vote. That was soon cemented into the Constitution with the 15th Amendment, guaranteeing that no citizen could be denied the vote because of race. Fiery abolitionist William Lloyd Garrison rejoiced. Nothing in all human history could match this wonderful transformation from the auction block to the ballot box. I mean, think about it. People who were considered property just a few years earlier were handed the most sacred right of citizenship, the vote. And that brings us to our quiz flash from the past. During Congressional Reconstruction, how many African Americans do you guess were elected to Congress? 0, 5, 16, or 90? Raise your hand if you guessed C. You got it. From slavery to being granted suffrage to 16 congressmen, this was an absolutely revolutionary change. The first black congressman was Senator Hiram Revels, who ironically filled the seat once held by Jefferson Davis, the former president of the Confederacy. Yeah, Davis did not see that coming. As senator, Hiram Revels symbolized the hope that Reconstruction was the dawn of a new day in America. Senator Charles Sumner celebrated this triumph, stating, "All men are created equal, says the Great Declaration, and now a great act attests to this verity. Today we make the Declaration a reality." But not everyone was celebrating these changes. Southern resistance to Reconstruction came in many forms, but the most notorious came bearing white hoods, searing hate, and violent acts of terror. The Ku Klux Klan was just one of several white supremacist secret organizations that emerged in the South after the Civil War. Waging a campaign of terror, they burned black schools and churches and assaulted and murdered Republican leaders, both black and white. Their goal was simple: the return of all white rule and the subjugation of the black population. Congress responded with the Enforcement Acts, giving President Grant the power to use federal forces against such groups. Although Grant sent in federal agents on multiple occasions, arresting hundreds of Klan members, the violence continued, and in the end, it worked. You see, violence and the threat of it kept many black voters away from the polls, and white Democrats, calling themselves redeemers, regained control of Southern governments. After a decade of trying to reform the South, Northerners began to lose interest. And in 1877, Reconstruction came to an end. Redeemer Democratic governments rewrote the laws and their state constitutions. They imposed poll taxes, literacy tests, and grandfather clauses to suppress black voting, and the old order clawed its way back into power. So, was Reconstruction a success or a failure? Well, it really depends on when you look. During Congressional Reconstruction, we see extraordinary achievements: the 14th and 15th Amendment, the rise of black office holders, and the creation of the public school system across the South. But the nation failed to protect those rights and achievements after 1877. The promise of Lincoln's new birth of freedom was betrayed as Redeemers took back the reins of power. As the saying goes, the North won the war, the South won the peace. However, nearly a century later, a civil rights movement emerged, and it drew its legal power from the 14th and 15th Amendments, and much of its leadership arose from Black churches that took root during Reconstruction. So what do you think? Was Reconstruction successful or a betrayal? And remember that history is the light that guides us forward, so thanks for learning some today. This has been History for Humans.